I've been stuck in this hole for way too long. I've got 99 problems that are going on. I woke up a mess of red and black, stiffed my suit and threw it back. The weak pushed over insecurity, so much for camaraderie. This whole damn place is a house of cards, only one nudge from tumbling down. But I gotta be strong, if only for mom. We got 99 things that are going wrong. 99 problems, and the list goes on.
Hi there, fellas. As you can see, I do not have a booze today, or any form of alcohol whatsoever to keep me going. That's a good sign, isn't it? That's a very good sign, I'm telling you. This is going to be my first sober rant about Project Horizons. And that is mostly because I really don't have much to say about Chapter 73. It was a solidly written chapter, with pretty ordinary happenings throughout it. Clear, Blackjack and friends had a fallout with the character of Rampage, whom is really Peppermint. They try to convince her she's Peppermint. She doesn't believe them. She has a little Luke Skywalker moment, as in, "It's not true! It's not possible!" Then they fight, and then contrivances happen, and she's on their side now. So they go on to fight Cognitum, or her minions first. They come across a stable of blank ponies, mostly blank ponies, which are descendants, I think they are descendant of the original blank ponies that were on the moon 200 years ago, that were set there or something. It's not really all that important. What is important, and it's important to point out, in this chapter, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be the primary point of contention among fans of PhD, is the fact that now Blackjack has superpowers. So thanks to a combination of moon dust, a broken perceptron, and plot contrivances, as usual, she can now read minds. Or at least she can read the minds of the ponies that are around her. Her little clique of Rampage, B-21 and Scotch Tape, which is going to give them an edge during the upcoming final confrontation with Cognitum, which is not going to happen in this chapter, by the way, so I reserve judgment again for a more complete experience of this showdown when Chapter 74 will come out. Because as of now, this is all in preparation of that very much built up final confrontation that's yet to happen. But let's talk about in more depth about this new telepathy power that Blackjack has gained. Because I have a lot to say about it. But not for the reasons you might think of. We already established that Blackjack tends to receive some new upgrades, sometimes literal mechanical upgrades, or even downgrades, if the story requires her to. In order to give her a new edge, or change her fighting style, preparation of a certain confrontation, and what have you. This happens all the time. In fact, it happens so often during the story that this new addition of telepathy made me think about something really important that I want to share with you. So hear me out on this, and please refrain from overreacting in anger until I'm finished with this rant. Trust me, it's going to be worth it. if Blackjack wasn't the character that she was, if she wasn't written the way she had been written by Somber, if she wasn't handled the way she's been handled up until this point, then Blackjack might have been the biggest Mary Sue ever written. Wait, calm down. I'm not saying she's a Mary Sue. In fact, she's quite the antithesis of a Mary Sue. But let me explain what went right with Blackjack. Sit down, relax. You there. I see you have a shotgun. Get it away. This is going to make you happy, I swear. Calm down. Okay. Let me expand. First of all, let me explain what real Mary Sues are about. Because there is a common misconception about Mary Sues. Typically, Mary Sues are considered overpowered messiahs, basically. They star in a story that's all about them, in which every single element of that universe and the characters inside the universe exist for the sole purpose of making the Mary Sue's life as easiest as possible. To guide her from plot point to plot point, and basically saving the day without actually feeling any sense of accomplishment. Because yes, Mary Sues tend to be overpowered in relation to the context of their stories. They tend to be the messiah and the epicenter of every stories, much like Blackjack herself is. But a thing you need to understand about Mary Sues is that an overpowered character doesn't necessarily make a Mary Sue. It's the level of challenge and conflict that character receives in their stories that makes a Mary Sue a Mary Sue. Let me provide you with a very easy example to grasp. Good old Ebony, Darkness, Dementia, Raven, Way. The main character from My Immortal, the infamously bad fanfiction that me and my team are currently in the process of eviscerating, if you've been following my videos so far. Now, she's a textbook example of how not to write an OC. What does she do wrong? Nothing. She's perfection. I mean, she doesn't get any sort of challenge or conflict from anything that happens to her. And in fact, when she doesn't get any new ability to completely shoehorn ability to save her from the embarrassment of not knowing what to do for 1 second, then we have some of the other characters and friends help her out with the predicament in order to have her advance to the next plot point without any sort of challenge. And that's the problem. When your main character doesn't have any form of conflict, any form of challenge to overcome, then your main character isn't allowed to develop a real personality or a real, reason for us to be interested in that character. A Mary Sue character is not as necessarily OP as it is unchallenged by the context on which they are being the messiah of. The problem is not being the epicenter of a narration, being the messiah, the chosen one, savior. So many stories are about that. And it's not even the problem of being overpowered and being too good at doing certain things that they're good at doing. The problem is that a Mary Sue is a boring character. Why is a boring character? Main character? Because they are not allowed to develop a real personality. And they are not allowed to develop a real personality because they do not encounter any challenge in their path. And that's the problem with Mary Sues. They are perfect, flawless main characters that don't encounter any real conflict. And if they do, they only get mildly annoyed by it. And in the worst case scenario, you have someone like Ebony, who not only is framed as this flawless, sex goddess by everything in that story, but also she is a despicable, selfish individual that always gets everything going her way. And if My Immortal was any other kind of story, she would be the villain. So how does that relate to Blackjack? Well, think about her path so far. She is the Messiah and the Chosen One, we know that. She receives an upgrade, sometimes a literal upgrade in the form of a mechanical limb, or when the story needs her to be more powerful than before, and she survives death twice, if not even 3 times, and her talent, her special talent, is literally the ability to win. Those are all typical elements that would define a Mary Sue, but she's still not a Mary Sue. Why? Because due to her mental state. She's such a tortured, self-guilt-tripping character that everything becomes a challenge to her. And not just talking about physical challenges, overcoming a powerful enemy and all that. There is a conflict in there too. But since we know she always wins, then there is no longer any interest. Any surprise that she wins at the end. Like I said, automatic win is a special talent, which I'm still very sorry about it. But since she is very ill in here, since she is so torturous and consumed by this inner conflict that's been an overarching main issue, main problem, main challenge ever since the beginning of this story, even simple things like waking up in the morning are an insurmountable challenge for her. She has it so bad, she needs a reset button, an emotional reset button in the form of sex. She has it really bad. And that's why Blackjack is the anti-Mary Sue. Because even though all the things that happen to her, and all the things she does are something that would typically be applied to a Mary Sue, she succeeds in that only defining trait that makes a Mary Sue. And that defining trait is that she encounters challenge on a daily basis because of how really messed up she is from a psychological standpoint. And that is a great accomplishment, narratively speaking. That's the reason why you keep coming back to this story, even though you might be disappointed by how the actual story pans out up until this point, and you might not even be all that invested anymore in the actual action scenes and the fighting and then saving the world from cognitum scenario. But you're still very much invested in what Blackjack does, because Blackjack is this fantastically unique written, psychologically distorted main character that she keeps being a point of interest for that reason. So really, you should congratulate Somber for writing a character that, no matter how much ridiculous she gets, or overpowered, or with new superpowers, or how many ridiculous things happen to her in the course of one story, you are still interested in what she does, because she is Blackjack. And that's really all that needs to be said. Blackjack is the anti-Mary Sue, because she's written like a complex character that could have been a Mary Sue. But she is not. In fact, come to think of it, the only other character in this story that might be more messed up than Blackjack is Scotch Tape herself. Hormones must be really killing the poor filly. If she even resorts to having sexual desires Freudian sexual desires towards her daddy. Hashtag somber get help. Seriously, what are you doing with scotch tape? But anyway, this is the end of my sober rant. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed sharing these thoughts with you. See you next time. Yeah, I guess that's it.
I woke up a mess of red and black, stiffed my suit and threw it back. The weak pushed over insecurity, so much for camaraderie. This whole damn place is a house of cards, only one nudge from tumbling down. But I gotta be strong, if only for mom. We got 99 things that are going